Fonthill's Christina Picton was on skis for the first time in December of 2018, and just weeks later, she competed in her first cross-country ski race. Fast forward to 2022, Christina represented Canada at the Paralympic Games in Beijing, and she joins us now via Zoom all the way from Canmore, Alberta. Christina, welcome back home to Canada.
Oh, thank you so much.
Now, before we get into your experience in Beijing, can you tell us how you got involved with parasport?
Absolutely, yes. Well, when I was 11 years old, I was introduced to parasport in a wheelchair baseball league, and that was kind of my first introduction to wheelchair sport and to other disabled athletes, and just like the community that was built in the baseball community. And through that, I learned about para ice hockey. And when I got onto the ice for the first time, there was really no looking back. I wasn't interested in baseball anymore. It was all about getting on the ice and skating around and seeing how fast I could go, and learning about hockey and everything about team sport. So that was kind of my first introduction. And it kind of really spiraled from there. I didn't look back.
So when did you first compete in para-Nordic skiing?
January 2019, 2 weeks after my first time on a mountain board. Yeah, it was a provincial level race, and it was just my first time racing, and it was just, I remember being at the start line like laughing because I'd never really trained or skied that much, and here I am just racing for the first time, and I just remember having a really good time, just a big smile on my face the whole time.
That's great. Now, how did that lead into you competing for Canada at the 2022 Beijing Paralympics?
Well, competing for Canada at the Paralympics has been a dream of mine for like 15 years. Unfortunately, on the women's side of para ice hockey, there is no stream to the Paralympic Games. It's not a Paralympic sport right now. So when I found para-Nordic skiing and seeing that there was like a direct path there were avenues to get to the Paralympic Games, it was really exciting for me to be a part of a sport and be passionate about a sport that had that route to get there. And so, yeah, after 2019 and into 2020, I was still trying to balance like my hockey career and then skiing. But once COVID-19 kind of shut down all the arenas and shut down, all that indoor training and organized sport, it was a really easy transition to just focus on training for skiing. And I ended up making the move from Fonthill to Canmore, Alberta, which is like the hub of cross-country skiing in Canada. And so, yeah, once I really like focused and was full on skiing, the improvements and the gains that I was making were coming a lot quicker, and the coaching staff and all of the athletes here in Canmore see a lot of potential in me and decided to bring me along to Beijing. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, for a relatively new paraskier, you did really well in Beijing. 4 top 8 finishes. Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah, that was incredible. Uh, it's hard to put into words too. You kind of go to this event and you set goals for yourself and you try to make them realistic because, like you said, I'm very new to this sport, and cross country skiing is such a tough sport, and it's about like building the capacity to do these distances and get faster and faster with each year. So really having only 2 seasons of training under my belt, and coming from hockey, which is like such a fast paced, like quick twitch type sport, like I'm still building that long distance capacity for sure. So yeah, it was really cool to train over the last year and a half and set some realistic goals and worry about the things that I knew I could control, and then also just accepting the progress and the process that I had over the last 2 years, and then going and just executing what I knew I could do. So for me, my big goal was to shoot clean in the range because that's something I knew I could control. And then one of the things that was just kind of like a dream goal was making that sprint final, because coming from hockey, sprinting is a little bit more my forte. So yeah, to have made those goals, I was just so stoked. And everything else was like icing on top, it was really excellent. It was great.
Was there a personal highlight for you in Beijing?
Yeah. I mean, I think shooting clean on the individual day was a huge, that's just the greatest feeling. I don't know. You shoot 20 times and it's like, like the first bout you're clean, you're like, oh, cool, I could do it. And then but it gets harder and harder, right? Obviously, because you're out there for longer and longer. So that last clean bout of that race was like the greatest feeling, just so energizing to ski that last 2.5K. And then the sprint day was just an incredible day all around. My semi-final race in particular was very exciting because I came from the back and was able to kind of get ahead and qualify for the final in the last 200 meters. And it was so exciting. I crossed the finish line and I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. I was like, I just couldn't believe it. I was over the moon that day.
That's great, Christina. Now, what is next for you?
Oh, well, we are in the most fun part of the season. It's spring skiing out here. So now, we go up higher into the mountains and do some crest cruising and just enjoy skiing. And it's not necessarily structured training for the next couple months or 2 months, which is just a nice break. And it being the end of a quad, there is a lot of change happening too. So we haven't necessarily gotten training schedules, but we know this next season there's World Championships. So I plan to be living and training here in Canmore and working towards competing at championships. So, yeah.
Christina, congratulations again on all your success at the 2022 Paralympic Games in Beijing. We'll be back right after this.